he's mentioning Chicago all the time. But nobody knew that at the time. The other big thing is, he would quote lots of different people, and his favorite quote that he used all the time was by Patton's quote. And again, pardon the bad language, but this was a very quote that he would use a lot. And against what Patton was about the purple pissing Japanese. Doesn't come up very much, but he used it. And that was a problem for him, because that was one of the things that hooked him in at the very end. So, again, we found all this stuff out. Now, the people are still not convinced that they caught anybody. They're trying to pin it on Kelly, but Kelly, so far he's turning out he's not doing anything. They keep looking, nothing like that. So they decided to change their game as to what they were going to try to do. They said, you know what we're going to do? Let's go see if we can find somebody who can turn him in just like he turned in all these other guys. So they started offering money to different kinds of people. And in this case, they found somebody that after the fall of the Soviet Union, a person who now was working with another government, they talked to him. They pulled him aside when he was visiting and said, look, can you tell us who it is? We will give you money, all this kind of stuff, whatever. He goes, look, the thing is, I don't know who it is. He was very careful about never anybody seeing him. But I've got two things. While I was working the case, I got an audio tape of him talking, okay? And I also, guess what? I have a plastic bag that he used to drop off some of his tapes and letters and so forth. Like, okay, we want that. Will you come and help us? Now, he decided that he would do this, but only if his whole family was protected too. So it took a while, but they finally brought him over, put him in the Witness Protection Agency. And again, unfortunately, when David Wise died, he may have known who it was, and I can't find unfortunately, I can't find the letter of who he thinks it was, but regardless, I think the secret's out of who it was. They brought him over, put him under witness protection, and he had a little suitcase with it. In there were all sorts of tapes, and he actually stole the files on Hanssen from the Russian military. Not only that, but in there was a plastic bag. Everything they did was always in black plastic bags. Everything they did. Well, they went through the black plastic bags. Wouldn't you know it? 2 latent fingerprints. Oh, now we know this. This is great. Then they told him about this tape. He had made a telephone call to one of his handlers. Okay, I think it was the Chicago, I'm not sure. And he made this telephone call from a telephone booth in Springfield. Okay, of course it's not there anymore, but there aren't any telephone booths anymore. But that's where he made it, and somebody had actually gotten that call. So everyone was all together, both the FBI and CIA guys grouped together. We're going to find out who it is. And they're so happy because finally, they were finally going to get Brian Kelly. And then they looked at it and said, that's not Brian Kelly. And they're listening and whatever, and like, I don't know who it is. So they're trying to figure out who the fingerprints are. But in the meantime, in the telephone call, this guy says, purple pissing Japanese. He goes, wait a minute, I've heard that before. Nobody ever uses that, but isn't that, they looked around, there was a person who would use that all the time back at work. Robert Hanssen. He said, oh my God. They looked at the fingerprints, it's Robert Hanssen. Can't believe this. This is 5 weeks before he's about to retire. They're like, we need to get this guy. So they decided then, this is where the Breach movie comes in, to make a whole thing out of this. Now that they had the notes and everything, they knew where his drop sites were, they knew what the codes supposedly were, and they were looking at all of this. And they decided to put him in a place where he can't cause any trouble. So where the movie comes in, they put him in this thing that he's supposed to update computer systems and all this. They put him in, I think, Eric O'Neill, whatever, the guy who was in there, I think he called it room 5990. So it was terrible. There's no windows, there's no nothing. It's a horrible place. But they put him in this place because this guy can't cause any trouble there. And they put him as in the movie, to follow him and try to get as much information as they can. He figured out, for example, that much of what he was storing was in this a Palm PDA system, and this is where a lot of his stuff was. And in the movie, you see all these different kinds of things: how he steals, how he tries to steal it, how they search his cars, all of this kind of stuff. Well, that's when they discovered a few things. So that all of this you can get in all the books and so forth. Now we're going to switch to what happened over here, because back on Lincoln's true birthday, which is on February 12th, the people were searching all of the sites that this guy had used before. They came to the Lewis site, Long Branch, and what did they find? They found sitting there something waiting for him. They found out that there was $50,000 in used bills hiding underneath the stage out here. Like, wow, this is great. Because he's gonna come by and pick up the money. So now they know, all right? So, a lot of different things happen at the time. So, going back to here, at the time I was a park naturalist over here, and we were doing the regular kinds of things. That was on that day. The following day was a Tuesday. And one of the great programs we do is this great little tiny tot trot. It's for 2-year-olds. It's a great little thing, right? So we're doing this, and I'm checking people in, and much as you guys had checked in, bringing the kids in, and there's 2 guys over there. And I'm like, by themselves, watching around, coming in here, and I'm like, well, these aren't tiny tot guys. There's something weird about this. So I actually said, hey, I'm sorry, can I help you guys? When you guys are hanging around, there's all these kids here, it's a little creepy. But what do you what are you guys doing? He goes, can we talk to you guys in private? I'm like, what the heck? But he sounded very authoritative when I said, get him out of the room. So I took him to the back and goes, in private. But we had rooms back there. I took them back there. The 2 gentlemen come in. I close the door. When I come back around, they got their IDs out, and they're like FBI. And I'm like, oh. I'm like, what did my coworkers do? What did they do this time, right? But they tell me, okay, we got something going on. We can't tell you what it is, but we may need to do some things out here. We need to get some permissions to do certain things. And I'm like, well, it's above my pay level, so I'll call my boss. I'll get and some of you guys know my boss, Greg Zell, who used to be the old natural resources manager and was in charge here for a while. So I call him, whatever, he comes in, they meet with them, I leave, and they decide they're going to do a couple of things. So, all good and dandy, so we think. I was going to see him again, whatever it was happening outside, didn't know anything about it. Well, wouldn't you know it, a couple of things going on. At the time, this place was a little bit more dilapidated than it is now. I know it looks great now, but back then it wasn't so good, all right? We had rotting termites, and we had, and I hate to say it, all sorts of things like we had rats and things like that in the front. And so they decided that they were going to actually redo a lot of the buildings over there. They had to, okay? So as they're doing this, they bumped into a few things. The contractor who was in charge of this was a great guy. He's a French-Canadian guy. His name was Guy Champlain. Loved Guy. He was the nicest guy ever. Always trying to do stuff, everything he could. For one thing, a lot of we have a lot of animals in here. He felt so bad that he was tearing apart their cages and all of this, that he, on his own time after work, built his own cages so that the animals had a place to go back. On his own time. Just the nicest guy ever. Well, I was a little annoyed at him, though, when he came up to me, and he was angry. And I can't copy a French accent, I'm sorry, but, he comes over to us, what is going on? I have a trailer out there for the person, and there's people all over there. And I go, no. And I'm like thinking, well, maybe he saw the FBI guys or something, right? I don't know what it is. I'm like, oh, don't worry, those are county guys. He goes, bullshit. You don't have county, those are not. I have an exclusive contract here, and these guys are not supposed to be doing this kind of stuff. I'm like, I don't know what it is, don't worry, we'll take care of it, whatever. So he's already sticking his nose in all sorts of different places, all right? Well, a couple other things go on. One of which was, at that time, it was raining. It was horrible. Really nasty weather out there. And these poor guys were sitting out there waiting for Robert Hanssen to come and pick up his stuff, right? So they're keeping an eye on here, and something happens. Somebody is walking their dog. You're supposed to keep your dog on the leash, folks, in Arlington County parks, okay? But they don't do this, which is normal. So the dog runs off. And she goes over to cut the dog. The dog is really interesting. Comes over to pick him up, and even though it's getting dark, he realizes that there's somebody lying there in camouflage on the ground. Ooh! Freaked out. Called the cops. All of this kind of stuff. Okay, so things aren't going well all the way around. So they come back over, and here it is again. We have yet another, well, two things. I'm going to go with this one first. We basically have another tiny tot trot that day. And again, here come these guys. 2 guys, these aren't. And we need to talk to somebody. And I'm like, well, what can I help you with? We need approval to do something inside the building. I'm like, both my pay level, got to talk to my boss, I'll call my boss, okay? So called my boss, and he did a couple of things. One, they were going to use the building to stake out the area. So back there, as you see where we got all this, it looked a little bit different back then. But back there, you see where the open door is, that is where we store all these things right there. That was where, and I saw this because I was here when they changed agents, when that's where they had their observation stuff, the little monitors and all that kind of stuff in there. Kind of cool looking. A little brief second I saw it, but they were there. They also knew that they knew where all the electrical panels are. We had electricity down at the amphitheater. We showed movies down there and all this. So from up here, without anybody seeing them, they could keep an eye on things and not have to worry about people with loose dogs and things like that. All right? So that's fine. So we let them do that. The rule was all the park staff don't turn on the alarm when you leave, because as soon as they move, the alarm's going to go off, and not so good for the FBI guys. Yes, that is everybody except Guy Champlain, who's a really nice guy who stays around after work to do something. And when he left, those guys, they didn't put the alarm on. And in order for us not to get in trouble, he puts the alarm on. Walks on out. Soon as one of the guys moves, beep, 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 and it was loud back then. You know, now it's one of those silent things. You know, so if anybody breaks in there, the cops can still come over and still get them. This was loud. The whole neighborhood was here. So they right away, they're not happy. Okay. Oh my God. Now I was the closest one living here back then. I lived in Arlington back then. I'm like, okay, I get the call. You got to go to Long Branch. You got to go set the alarm off. Oh my God. When I come in, they open the doors, they see me come up there, and I'm putting the alarm on, and I'm so sorry, I don't know what happened. He goes, I'll tell you what happened. It was that French guy. He's the guy who put the alarm on. And I'm like, no, I swear, we don't know anything. Didn't know he was going to be there that day. So sorry about it, whatever. So that goes on. In the meantime, we still have other things going on. We got, just like you guys, different programs. And the whole time, they're like tiny tots and preschool program, and the guys are sitting right back there the whole time, keeping an eye on all of this. Pretty cool, at least we thought. Well, so that weekend happens, okay? And I believe, make sure I didn't forget anything. So that Sunday, all right, which would have been the 18th, wouldn't it? Yeah, the 18th. Bob Hanssen, again, he's getting very tired of his do-nothing job. His last letter that he wrote, that he caught him with or whatever, said, they promoted me into a do-nothing job where I don't do anything, can't get any much, I don't think I could be very much use for you. Now, of course, they don't know, but he's about to retire soon anyways, you know, sometime soon anyways. But they got me there, and something's going on. I think they're on to me. And he goes, I think they're on to me. I hear things coming in my radio. I think we, as he put it, we've woken a sleeping tiger, okay? And that was one of the things that he wrote to his good buddy now, Victor Cherkashin. So that day, he had his a friend over, okay? It's a military guy, military guy, a good friend of his, somebody that in the past, believe it or not, he'd actually he talked to Victor Cherkashin about other people who could turn. He thought this guy would have been a great person to turn, his best buddy, okay? Again, other ways, looking back, why would you mention this guy? If you followed him, you could probably figure out who his best friend was Bob Hanssen. Well, anyway, he had stayed that day with them, and he went to go drop him off at Dulles Airport, and on his way back, he decided he was going to do one last thing, all right? So he dropped off his name was I gotta look up his name, Rorschach, whatever. He went to go drop off the colonel, the military officer, and he decided, I'm gonna do this. Drops him off and then goes straight over to his iron site. The iron site was Ellis at Foxstone, where once a year, if nothing else goes on, that's where you go to. Now we suspect a couple of things about this, because he should have been caught right here. But it was raining that whole year. This was where he placed. This is a telephone pole. It's gone now. Up there at the school. This is where he usually got his things. But we suspect a lot of things are going on. We had vandalism going on with some of the middle school kids tearing stuff down, whatever. Whatever the reason was, he never got his signal to pick up the money. All right. So the money was sitting here for a week. He never stopped to get it. And instead he went to the iron site, the place where once a year you go in case it was going to happen. He goes to Ellis. And he goes to Ellis, he goes down there, he puts his little tape on there, and everyone's, okay, we're doing, they've got these, the special forces or whatever for FBI, the G's they call them, they were following him this whole time. They put him on there, they see him go through it, they got it all on film, he's going down underneath the bridge, well that's kind of, then you see him take a plastic bag, tape it underneath there, whatever, came out and they got him. And again, you got to remember that Robert Hanssen at the time was known for being a very good shooter, and so they were expecting the worst out of him. Okay, so when they came over, they came just all guns a-blazing, coming at the guy, waiting to see if he was going to do anything. And he turned us over without any kind of thing. He even said to him, you know, what took you guys so long? That's what he arrested him. And then when we were talking, he said, you guys should really do stuff because, and again, he was a spy the whole way through. Because I know you guys were trying to bug me. I could hear on the radio that you guys were interfering, trying to listen to me. And they're like, well, that wasn't us. I don't know what it was, whatever. But he was still looking into all the different things that they were doing wrong and trying to catch him. Okay? So they caught him that way. So we come back over here. The next day is President's Day. We weren't open that day, but guess what? Somebody, even when the nature center is closed, someone still has to go feed the animals. Okay? And yeah, like very. And that day, guess whose turn it was? Me. So I came back over, and as I'm coming back over, I'm wrapping things up. I don't hear anything from the closet. And of course, I'm not going to knock or anything like that. But there's nothing going on. The guy comes back up there, and I recognize the same guy I had talked to before. Later on, we found out the guy's name was, what was the guy's name now? I can't remember. Rob Hibbs or something. Oh, Dick Bridges. So anyway, he came over, and I said, hey, I was trying to apologize again about the alarm thing. When it's, no, don't worry about it. We'll be out of your hair. We're out of here. Really? And I go, well, did it go well for you? He just smiled and goes, yeah, go fine. And he walked away. And that's the last I thought that I was going to see of that guy. But not the case. So I go home, feed the animals, whatever. They sat on the money. They sat on the money over at the other place to see if somebody would come and pick it up, and they didn't. So Tuesday morning at 7 a.m., the news broke that they had gotten the FBI guy. Okay, Bob Hanssen. They got him at Ellis Park. Okay, and they showed different kinds of different areas and whatever. And one of them was, wouldn't you know it, our little at the time, our little amphitheater. Okay, with all the stuff over there, which is where everything had happened. So we come into work. We're not here at 7. Okay, we get here much later than that, but we got here to work. And right away, I'm looking over here, and there's something going on over there. My coworker, Wendy, she came over and goes, hey, what is going on out there? I go, what are you talking about? There's a camera crew over there. Do you want to go talk to them? And it turned out it was Telemundo, okay? So Telemundo's out there and they're filming. So I'm like, I gotta go see what they're going on. So I come over, and I'm Latino, I'm gonna go talk to them. And hey, so what are you guys doing? And the guy goes, hey, we're not breaking any laws, we're just shooting here. This is a public park. I go, oh, not hassling you guys, but usually people ask us before they use the park for anything. And the guy goes, really? You don't know what's going on? I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. Go turn on the news. So I walk back here, and I'm walking over the door, I'm like, what the heck does that mean? Go look at the news. I'm going to go look. Wendy opens up the door and she goes, what is going on? And I go, I don't know, but this is something about the news. She goes, I just got off the phone with the BBC. What is going on? Turn on the news. So we turn on the news, and we see what's going on. Like, oh my God. So right away, call my supervisor, who still wasn't around, but I call him up and go, hey, something's going on. Talk to you. Okay, don't talk to anyone. And I'm like, what am I going to tell him? I had no idea anything was going on. Don't talk to anyone. You basically don't know anything. If they need to talk to somebody, talk to the media person, Susan Kalish, that we have with our county. I'm like, fine. So we thought that was it. That was all that there was. About a week, and then I'll tell you more what happened to the guy, but about a week later, wouldn't you know it, here comes Mr. Bridges coming on down again. I'm like, oh my God. I open the door and I see him come in, and I just smile. And he goes, yeah. He goes, I'm really sorry. Obviously, we couldn't tell you what was going on, but yeah, I think you basically know what has happened now. I go, yeah, that's really interesting. He goes, hey, can I go talk to your boss? My boss is finally here, so I go take him back to talk to my boss. And I don't hear the whole conversation, but I did hear a few things. Later on, my boss tells me, one, they were very happy because we cooperated and whatever. And somebody had asked him a couple of things. And the guy told them some very interesting stuff that happened while we weren't looking. While the guys were monitoring over there, one day, okay, even though it was wet, there were some people out there, a couple of kids and a mom. And it just so happens that the kid sees something underneath the stage and is going to go grab it. So apparently said something about, the guys were like, oh my, this is bad, And then mom slaps in the hand, don't be picking up trash or whatever. and didn't pick up the money. So my boss said, well, what if somebody had picked up the money? He goes, well, Hanssen's not going to claim it. The Russian government's not going to claim it. After it sits there as evidence for a while, whoever found it, I guess it's theirs. Oh. I'm like, darn it! That would have been great. I would have loved to have found that. But regardless, that had happened too. So he thanked him about that. That had happened that night, whatever. And he gave him, on the way out, he gave him an FBI hat. And he said, hey, thank you very much for your cooperation, whatever, and gave him the FBI hat. Since then, and this is going back many years now, 2001 I guess, we've been doing this almost once a year. We have to do it very often in the beginning now, about once a year they ask me to come back and try to tell a little bit of what happens, which is great. At one of those times, I didn't realize, and by the way, we've cooperated with several different groups too. This is actually on one of the spy tours that they do with the Spy Museum and so forth. We've exchanged information. They love it because they sat in on our program, gave us some comments on it and all this and that. And we appreciate everything that they had done there too. But there's that, there's been lots of little stories, written about some of the stuff that we did over here. But regardless, they gave them the hat. One day, we're sitting over here, and I didn't realize this, and they didn't tell me until after the program, but sitting in the audience were several other FBI guys. And they would come over to listen, and I guess one of them, he had brought his friends to see it again. So this is like his second time doing this. And he sat over there, and as usual, I gave this whole thing, and I gave my boss a hat. I got nothing. I was here the whole time. So I said that or whatever. He came back another day. Oh, Dad, here's your hat. So either way, it sounds as though most of our stuff seems to, chime in right away with what's in the books, and this other stuff is not in any of the books, unless somehow Eric O'Neill put it in his latest book, which I'll find out after I read it. But that is basically what happened. So we're going to go out and look at where this happened and so forth. But before we do that, there's probably a ton of questions, which I can't answer anyways. But if you want to ask them, please go ahead. I will try to answer them. We skipped over a lot of different things. This is a 22-year period of time this happened. Okay, so obviously lots of things we're not going to cover, or I don't know. But please, if there were some questions. Are you first, ma'am? Please.
So the wife, how does she explain how he was getting all this money? She must have known what his salary was.
Well, not all the money went to her.
Okay.
So this was one of the things that, so Bob Hanssen was a night and day about, he comes across as this God-fearing person, telling everyone to go to church, taking his kids to there, doing all of this kind of stuff, doing it that way. But he also liked a lot of things. He used to love to go to strip clubs all the time. And in one of those strip clubs, he met Priscilla Sue Bailey, okay? And he, I guess, fell in love with the person. Took her on a couple assignments, took her out to Hong Kong with the FBI and all this kind of stuff, and took her along. Gave her diamonds, gave her a Mercedes-Benz and all this kind of stuff, all these kinds of things to her. So not everything went to just to the family, although a lot of it did. He found different ways of doing it, but he found, he basically paid the bills, and this is what I'm going to do, and he paid them. But some of the money went to other. Yeah, and again, he knew this guy was a scumbag in a lot of different ways. If so many people don't know, and this is one of the things, they made this movie, Master Spy, shortly after this, okay? And while he was in prison, okay, and by the way, he's serving 15 consecutive life sentences with no chance for parole over at what they call the Alcatraz of the Rockies of Florence. And he's in there with the Unabomber and all these other people that he's sitting here with. Well, they actually allowed him to see this one time, and he was disgusted with it. Because in there, they talk about some of the seedier stuff that he did. Not just that, but how he would videotape his wife, and how he would send that over to his good buddy, and how he hooked up a video system so they can watch them overnight and all this. This guy had all sorts of little things that went on with this too. So again, he was not a nice guy by any measure of imagination, but when you look at him, it was very different how he could portray these two very different people, very much so.